Hello and welcome to my Savage walkthrough slash guide for the third circle of the Pandemonium fight. This fight is slightly more difficult than the previous two in terms of mechanic outlay as well as the DPS checks. We're going to start off this fight going into a room-wide AoE called Scorched Exaltation. This is fairly light. Light shielding should be fine. Next up is Heat of Condemnation. Now this is a tank buster with a little bit different than how the previous tank busters have been. This tank buster is a 2 tether. Only one person can have 1 tether, and it does a very large AoE around it. So what the party needs to do is stack south, as you can see here, which will allow the tanks to just do a run by and grab the tether and go far away from the party to not cleave them. During the first part of this fight, only the main tank will be taking damage from the bird. But in the second half of the fight, there will be damage coming from the bird on both tanks, so the tanks need to make sure they are on the second part of the aggro table. So the next mechanic we have is Experimental Fireplume. For Experimental Fireplume, all parties going to want to stand center because there are 2 different possibilities for this. This little orb here, or big orb rather, or a bunch of tiny orbs. The difference between the big orb now and the big orb in normal is that it is dropped on a player. That is why we're all standing center, so we can bait it being dropped in the exact center. That way we can run to the edge and be safe. These small little balls are not baited, but you'll never know what it is until it's too late. So it's better to just stack in center for it no matter what. So it's going to go up, and the second it goes up, you are free to leave and go to the edge. Then you can see it drop, and you can see roughly about the size of the radius. Now, immediately after that, we're going to have cinderwing. Cinderwing can happen on the left or the right, and it's going to cleave that half of the arena. If you run north of the boss, like I did, you can do a simple cheat or brain dead strat of if it says left, go to the left, because since you are facing the boss, it's going to be the opposite. And as you can see, I'll go ahead and let the mechanic play out. You can see that it cleaves the exact half based on his hitbox. After that, we're going to go into a mechanic called Darkened Fire. Darkened Fire is going to spawn an ad on a random player based on healers and tanks or DPS. So you're going to want to split up in groups of 2, and you're going to want to bait them on these corners here, because if they are too close, they will explode and kill the party. After they spawn, you are free to move, which you can see right here. And they are immune to damage for now. The following mechanic is going to remove that immunity, which you can see here. And this is going to be the first tricky mechanic for some, especially trying to see these numbers as they are extremely bright against this bright stage. But what you're going to want to do is, as you see here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Each person is going to get a number between 1 and 8. The best way to do this is marker 1 gets 1, marker 2 gets 2, marker 3 gets 3, marker 4 gets 4, marker 1 gets 5, marker 2 gets 6, marker 3 gets 7, marker 4 gets 8. You'll just stand directly in the center there, like this, and then the bird will spit out at you, dealing some damage. Make sure to shield and heal. And then after it gets hit enough times, you'll be able to start damaging it. And you're going to want to do that extremely fast. As you can see, the cast bar right here is starting to fill up rather quickly. And if the cast bar goes off, it will most likely wipe the party. And if it doesn't wipe the party, it'll apply a damage down, which is just as bad. He is going to go into the next mechanic, which is just going to be another Heat of Condemnation, which we know what that is. After that, it's going to be followed by a Scorched Exaltation. And after that, you're going to want to head into center for the next mechanic, which is called Devoured Brand. Devoured Brand is it's going to create that cross pattern from the original one, and it's going to slowly grow into the center. As you can see here, it has started. And you do not want to move just yet because he's going to start casting Experimental Fireplume. Now, there are two cheese ways to do this. It's always going to default to the northwest, but sometimes it is the northeast. And I'm going to show you here. It's choosing the fireball, which means we baited it here in the center, which means we can run northwest and stand to get ready for the next mechanic. Make sure to not stand too close to these, as these will expand to right about here. So you're going to want to stand at the edge, because the next mechanic is going to be Searing Breeze, which is going to be baited AoEs. And as you can see, Searing Breeze expanded this AoE, as well as dropped AoEs on the party. You're going to move forward to avoid those AoEs, and then he's going to cast a cinderwing. And then after that, if you are DPS, you're going to want to head to the center of the arena, as it's going to come another tank buster, and they're going to need to be able to grab those tethers. So as you can see, we all head to the center, they grab the tethers, they ran off with them, and then they go off. Next, it's going to come an Experimental Fireplume, and we're going to head into the next phase of the fight. So you're going to bait it out, another big circle. It is random. It's not always going to be the circle like it was this time. The boss is going to disappear, and he's going to start the Trial of Condemnation. What this is he's either going to, let me go ahead and get this to get a better view of the heads. Alright, so he's either going to breathe on the sides of the arena or in the middle of the arena. How you can tell this is if the two sides of the two heads on the side are glowing, that means he's going to breathe on the sides. If it's the one in the middle, he's going to breathe through the middle. Now, if he breathes through the sides, he's going to do a stack, a two-party stack, one on each of the tanks and each of the healers, or each of the DPS. So you're going to go back, you're going to set up a group to stand along the length here. That way you know which position to run to, like we did. And then if it is the breathing through the middle, it's going to be everybody's going to get an AoE that they're going to need to spread out for. So you're going to want to assign 4 people here, and then just kind of spread out along the free path. And as you can see here, this is roughly the AoE, what the middle AoE look like. So if you want to figure out how to spread along here. And as you can see, that goes out. Make sure you shield and heal, because that is a pretty decent amount of damage. And now we are going to enter the add phase. So we have assigned light parties. We chose to do the stack markers of northwest and northeast as group 1, southeast and southwest as group 2. What the tanks are going to do is they're going to grab the tank for group 1 is going to grab the north and west bird. And then the other tank is going to grab the other ones, and they're going to bring them to either the south or the east, and then the north or the west. And you're going to kill one of them there. And then once it's dead, you're going to go ahead and move the next one over here and kill it there. If you kill them too close together, they will receive a damage up for the next following mechanic. So once they are dead, we are going to go into a very large raid-wide AoE. Make sure to do a moderate amount of mitigation, as it's going to hurt severely. Now, these birds are going to upgrade into a sunbird and be much bigger and have a slightly bigger HP pool. And you're going to want to start DPSing them immediately, but pay attention to the next mechanics that's about to happen. Okay, so there's a lot of lines going on here. Now there are people that are tethered to the bird, and then there are people that are tethered to people. As you can see right here, I am tethered to a bird, and then someone is tethered to me. The best way to solve this is, if you are the person tethered to the bird, just go to the opposite side of the arena of the bird. If you're the person tethered to a person, see what bird they're tethered to and go stand next to that bird. As you can see here, I'm tethered to this bird over here, so I'm going to go over here. and then the person that I was tethered to is going to go right over here. Now, the fire glide sweep is going to be the dash that they're going to do. And as you can see, they dash, deal a moderate amount of damage, so make sure you shield and heal. And then you're going to want to, after you get hit, you're going to want to take a step to the side as they're going to dash again. And if you get hit by a second dash, you're going to die. And you need all of the party members alive for the next mechanic, which is just like the previous birds, but with these big birds and that have slightly more HP pool. So if people have weakness or damage down, it could pose you not to be able to kill them, as these birds have an enrage timer and it is actually fairly quick. So you're going to DPS that one down, and then he's going to move the bird over and take it down as well, and then we will go into the next part of the mechanic. After that, you're going to have a medium size or a raid weight AoE that does a medium amount of damage, so make sure you shield for that. After that, you're going to have it was said to be roughly about 21 seconds, which is roughly about true, but make sure you shield and mitigate, because it's going to start casting a very large AoE to transition into phase 3. Which is called Dead Rebirth. During this time, you are free to damage it up. Your 120 should be up during this, so it's a very free damage place, as well as your pots too if you're potting. Alright, so now we are in phase 3 of the fight, the next big chain of mechanics. Alright, so we're going to start off with another tank buster, Heat of Condemnation. They're going to grab that, take that, and then it is going to do a new thing called Fledgling Flight. What's that going to do? Also, during this part of the phase, make sure your tank is in the second slot in the aggro, as it's going to be, these things are going to be attacking the person who's in second slot. Now, Fledgling Flight is going to give you these arrows here. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to bring those to the markers here and point those outwards, as they're going to release a cone after they place. If they are too close together, they will explode and kill the party. So as you can see, they explode in a cone AoE, and then you can proceed to the next fight, which is our next part of the mechanic, or the next mechanic in general, and which is going to be Glory Plume. Now this is going to function like Fireplume, but an extra step on top of it. This one is always going to be these little small orbs here. It is never going to be the big orb, and then it's going to be a dark ball, or a big dark ball, or a lot of tiny dark balls. What this means is the big dark ball is going to be a light party stack, so you're going to want to do tanks and melees north or west, and then healers and ranged for south and east, to allow uptime for the melees. So it's going to go out, we're going to wait for the first AoE to happen, and then we are going to run out and stack up for our light parties. If it is the tiny ones, you will just spread out and do the single. The tiny ones is a spread mechanic where it drops an AoE on every single person, and you just need to spread out. All right. After that, we are going to go into another big mechanic chain, which is called the Fountain of Fire. The Fountain of Fire has a couple things going on to it. So we're going to try to, I'm going to try to break it down the best I can. I'm going to let it play out, and then I'm going to break it down for you. So we've got the cast. We're going to go into position here. The AoEs are going to start spawning. Some towers soaking are going to start spawning. Birds will spawn from those AoEs that dropped. And then the birds will dash through. And then after all of that is said and done, there's going to be AoEs on... There's going to be 3 sets of AoEs as well as 3 sets of towers. After that, it's going to become Scorched. So let's go ahead and head back and break that down to a little bit more. So, what's going to happen here is there are going to be puddles with tethers that need to be tanked or pulled just so they aren't going onto the bird, and they're going to deal some damage. Now, while that is happening, there's going to be two sets of them, north and south here. Sometimes they spawn east and west. What your job is going to be is the healers are going to be the ones to tank these, and that's because these are going to provide a buff that increases healing output, which is going to be really nice and becoming mechanic, and I'll show you just how nice that healing buff actually is. So while the healers goes and tank those, as you can see, he took the tether. The people that are closest to the bird's hitbox, so the closest to the center, are going to receive an AoE here. The order that we're doing it is melee, tanked, ranged. So the melees here are going to take them. They're going to stand north and south, making sure not to cleave the healers. And then the tanks are going to go in and get it. Once they get theirs, they're going to explode and turn into birds. Now, once the birds spawn, you can see this tether here. They're going to tether whoever they exploded onto. And then once they explode, you're just going to run across to the other side, get behind that bird. That bird will then dash across the arena, which I will try to get into angle here. Okay, here we go. As you can see, it dashed across, it dashed across. Make sure when you're pointing it to no one's behind you. And those grabbing the next set of AoEs, make sure not to run through the middle because there will be bird AoEs going off. So the tanks got theirs turned into birds. Then me and the ranged got ours. And then you have to make sure if you're ranged to wait for these to go off before going through. You go through, stand on the other side here. I had to make sure not to hit my healer, and then it went off. And then, as you can see here, the shielding from the scholar gave him so much shield, it has a little dot here to show that it went above and beyond their actual health pool that it can display. That's how powerful the healing bonus is. And the reason it's giving that is because it's going to be followed by some raid-wide AoEs that does a moderate amount of damage. As you can see here, the shielding that came out not only takes up my health bar, but my next health bar, and still goes above and beyond. It's going to have another AoE here. And then we are going to go into the next set of mechanics after another tank buster. They're going to go off, and then we're going to go into the next set of the mechanics, or the next mechanic set, which is called Firestorms of Asphodelos. Now, this is one of the last biggest mechanics in this fight, and it has a lot going on to it. So as you can see here, we have some tornadoes spawned, and he starts casting Flames of Asphodelos. Flames of Asphodelos is going to be summoning these triangles all around the hitbox. The method here, and while these are lining up, he is going to be casting Experimental Ash Plume. Ash Plume is the second part of Glory Plume, the Dark Ball. So you just have to see what he casts. As for these cones, what you're going to do is you're going to go into the third one that showed up here. So as you can see, here is the first one. Here's the second one. And then here's the third one. You're just going to want to go to the third one and then walk into the first one with your group. And then you can see these are the tiny orbs. So this means we're going to have to spread. So we're going to wait for those to go off, and then we are going to spread. And then it is going to drop some damage. Now, during the transition to this area causes a lot of damage, so make sure you mitigate for that. And then all of these mechanics cause a lot of damage as well. So you make sure you have to keep up your healing and shielding and mitigation, because there's also damage just happening throughout the fight in general. After those drop off, he's going to cast another Flames of Asphodelos. This isn't going to be followed by any mechanics. Just make sure you do it correct. You're going to go off, and then after they go off, once it gets done going off, he's going to start casting Storms of Asphodelos. Now, Storms of Asphodelos is going to be a tank buster, the tethered tank buster, as well as these tornadoes are going to send a cone AoE to the person that's closest to them, as well as the bird is going to do that. So as you can see, I am baiting the cone AoE to go outside the arena this way, We have the red mage doing it this way, and then a healer doing it this way. It can be, there are multiple methods in Party Finder, 2 healers and 1 ranged, both ranged and a healer. Those are actually the most 2 common I see. There are some others, but I've never actually seen them. I've only like read it in the Party Finder, and I was like, I'm not doing that. And then for the middle, we have, let me try to get a better angle here. The tanks are going to immune. There is a way to do it without immuning, but we chose to do it that way. They're going to stand inside the hitbox and stack together, that's why they're immuning, because they're about to take double tank busters on top of themselves. They're going to bait a cone this way, and then the melees are going to stand over here, as well as the final healer is going to stand on this side, standing at, let me try to get a better angle here. They're going to be standing on the exact edge of it, while the melees are going to stand on this side to bait the AoE. Next is going to be the next set of mechanics, which is going to be called Dark Blaze Twister. Dark Blaze Twister, he's going to tether to all three tornadoes, one of which is going to be black. That is going to come in note later. But the first thing he's going to do is he's going to cast Searing Breeze 3 or 4 times. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the clockwise position of the tether here, of the black tether. We chose to go exactly on the marker. He's going to drop his first Searing Blaze. We're going to move in a clockwise manner. He's going to drop the second, third, fourth, and you can see here he's casting Ash Bloom, so make sure you pay attention. And it's going to be the spread for this one. It could be the spread or the stack. Now, once you've baited all the AoEs, you're going to want to go to the Black Tether Tornado here and line yourself up, because it's about to do a knockback, and you're going to want to get knocked back into the other tornadoes because they are going to do a donut AoE. You're going to want to separate into your groups of ranged and healers, tanks and melees. Run up. We did healers and ranged on the left side here. Left side facing the boss, and then the others on the right side facing the boss. We'll get knocked back. It'll do the donut AoE. We'll spread out for the spread. And then he's going to catch another raid-wide AoE. That's going to resolve this mechanic. Make sure you shield and heal through all of this, because it is a lot of damage coming out at all times. After that, it is going to go into the last new mechanic, and it's fairly easy, which is why I said the last one was the last major one. It's going to cast Death's Toll, which is going to give you a debuff. This debuff right here symbolizes how many times you need to take fatal damage. So you can have 1, 2, or 4. I'm going to get into the placements of those soon, as I want to go to the next cast to show you why those placements are. So he's going to cast Fledgling Flight. Instead of last time we casted this, we pointed them outwards. This time we want to point them inwards. So you're going to go to your markers and place them. Now, after that, he is going to cast Life's Agony, but that'll come in later. For now, you're going to try to resolve these debuffs as they are about to go off. If you do not resolve them, you die. So what you're going to do, if you have 1 debuff, you're going to stand behind the marker here. If you have 2, you're going to stand on these diamonds here. And if you have 4, you're going to stand in the middle here. And why that is because these guys are about to unleash their cone, which is going to deal life-damaging a large amount of damage, 999,000. The ones behind it are only ever going to get hit once, because there's only 1 cone pointing that way. The ones on the corners here, there are going to be 2 pointing that way, and then 4 pointing that way. After all of these go off, we have the Death's Toll removed, and we have an HP recovery down applied. Now, this is important because everybody's going to be at 1 HP from this happening. Life's Agony, if you are not at full HP when it finishes casting, you will die. So our healers get us topped off, and then he will cast Life's Agony. Anybody that is not full HP will die. It still does damage, so make sure to heal up afterwards. After that, he's going to cast an Experimental Glory Plume. This can be random, both sets of it, both this orb, The first orb and the first the Fireplume and the Ashplume can be random, so make sure you pay attention. It is important to note, if it is the ball, once it leaves this, you need to get out because that's when it starts dropping down. If it's the tiny orbs, make sure you just wait till you see the AoEs. And then you had to pay attention to the Ashplume. This one was a stacking, but it could be the spread. So we're going to stack up. It's going to do some damage, and then that resolves that mechanic. After that, it is just going to repeat some mechanics before finally going into a rage. The first being Trials of Condemnation, which was this dashing through the arena. This is going to be the one where he dashes through the middle. So as you can see here, here is the AoE, and then here is the drop it's going to do. After that, we're going to head back into the center and to the south of the boss. And he is just going to start repeating some mechanics before heading into soft rage, starting with Devour Brand. This is going to be the exact same way as the first time. There is no change to it. After that, it's going to not do the Tank Buster, and it's going to start its Soften Rage, which is going to be 2 casts of Scorched Exaltation, followed by its final cast of Final Exaltation. So you can see here, it's going to do that, and then it's going to start casting Final Exaltation. And then that is the entire fight. I hope that this proved helpful to you. I hope this helped in any way, shape, or form. If you would like to see me progging these fights live, you can catch me at twitch.tv/Monochwome. I hope you clear your fights, and I will see you all in the next video. Goodbye.